what I have is the bayonet for that Krag rifle. This one's dated 1899, and did not come with a scabbard. This bayonet was carried in a picket pin sheath. So what, when if you're in cavalry and you picket your horse, you'd drive this stake into the ground, and you'd tether your horse to that, the picket pin. And the original scabbards for that bayonet were kind of flimsy, and they broke, they tore. So it was pretty common. This is the second Krag I've actually had that came in with a picket pin case being used as a scabbard. But this one here it's dry, it's very hard. The leather's, it's very aged. It's probably right around 100 years old. So I'm going to try soften it, preserve it, maintain it. I'm going to use neatsfoot oil. So kind of an older, very basic, real simple method of preserving this. I'm going to apply neatsfoot oil, let it soak, and then we're gonna buff it and see if that cleans it up, softens it, and hopefully preserves it so this lasts another 100 years. All right, so I've got a little cup. I'm going to pour the neatsfoot oil into that cup, and what that's going to do, that's just going to keep me from contaminating the whole bottle of neatsfoot oil. I don't have to keep dipping in here and risk getting dirt and whatever into the oil. I can just take a little bit, put it into that cup, then dip and apply it to the this picket pin case or the scabbard. I'm just going to use an old rag. This just happens to be an old dish towel, and I've read the directions and it says to apply, let it soak in, and then we'll buff it later. So I'm just going to apply very liberally because this leather looks very, very dry, and I'm just going to keep applying this neatsfoot oil kind of heavily. And anything that doesn't get soaked in, I can always wipe off later. So I'm going to let as much soak in as I can. Any excess I'm going to wipe off, and then once it's dried or soaked in, then we can buff it and see what we have. But I'm just going to do all the straps. I'm going to apply it to both sides of these straps. I'm just going to do the outside, obviously, of the scabbard body, and not get any dirt off of there. And we'll just see how much oil this takes, and we'll see how it does. All right, so this is kind of a messy project. And what I did is I put down, this is just a cookie sheet, because I want to keep the oil. I'm doing these straps, and the oil is just getting all over my work surface. So I put down this cookie sheet it's collect and gather the oil, and we are getting some dirt. We are getting some dirt off this scabbard. So I probably should have done a better job of cleaning it before I start putting this neatsfoot oil on it. But we're going to continue. It's too late to clean it now. We're just going to continue with what we got, and then we'll see how this does. But you can tell it is soaking up that oil quite a bit. I apply it, it soaked it in. Now I'm just reapplying. Well, it took a lot more oil than I was honestly comfortable putting on there. I used almost that little cup of oil. It did just seem to keep soaking up. The more I put on, the more it took. It got to the point where now it's a little bit of oil sitting on the surface. So I'm going to call this done. Now the next direction is take a dry cloth and buff it. So I'm going to take what's actually a microfiber towel, and this is kind of dry now, so I'm just going to buff this. It says rub briskly on the instructions, and also what it did, it said on the instruction on the back of the bottle, it said it will permanently darken your leather, and it's noticeably darker. But I will tell you that the straps are a lot more flexible now. I feel a lot more comfortable about this thing not breaking. A few years back, I was given a Sam Brown belt from World War I, and what I did is I tried unbuckling it. I tried to undo it, and it tore. The leather ripped. It was that dry. And since that time, I've been very, very conscious of trying to keep leather moist and not letting it dry out and not losing a little piece of history here. But I'm going to continue to buff this with the microfiber towel, and we'll see how she looks here in a minute. While buffing it, I hit it with this microfiber towel, and it did pick up a little bit more dirt than I was expecting. I thought I had this all cleaned up, but it's still getting some dirt off after oiling it, so it's going to be oiled. It's going to be much cleaner than it was too. Like I said earlier, this is a picket pin scabbard. It's not a scabbard for that bayonet. And I'm assuming that these straps and this ring somehow attach to a saddle. But these straps now are a lot more flexible since I put that neatsfoot oil, and I don't feel like I have to really hesitate or go slow now when I'm buckling these back up. I can just like a little belt buckle here. I can put the buckle through there, slide it through the keeper, and it just is much soft, much more pliable than it was before. Much darker than it was, but I feel we take a big step towards preserving this. And let's see, there we go. We're back to our bayonet inside its picket pin scabbard, and it is more flexible. It is more, like I said, more bendy, more pliable, and I think that's going to keep that from drying out. If it does get a little drier, I am gonna use the neatsfoot oil again. I kind of like what it does. It is a little bit darker, but I don't see that as a negative. All right, so if you've got some old leather laying around, go ahead and hit it with some neatsfoot oil.